KIRK T from bangingbeats.com. My crew is the dig team, and what we're going to do today is tweak some drums. We take you to my dig spot. I got the portable turntable. Sometimes I'll just spend hours just grab shit and start a keep pile, and then when it comes down to listening, 90% of those probably go back in the crates, but sometimes it's just a numbers game, you know. The more records you listen to, the better your chance to find that hot break with them ill open snares and kicks that are clean without the too much other instrumentation behind it. It's an indispensable tool. I mean, I really save a lot of money on digging with this. I come home with something hitting every time instead of a fly. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's no telling what you're gonna get when you just blindly buy records. That's a keeper. Let me hear that again. That goes in the keeper pile. Okay, so we're back at the lab. Had a good run at the flea market. Got some hot drums. Gonna drop these into Pro Tools possibly and run them through some of this outboard gear and see what we can come up with. So basically I'm going to break down everything in here that can be used for drums or that we might use for drum processing either here or in the other lab. Starting off with this rack, the Focusrite Producer Pack, which is essentially it's preamps and compression, but compression can be used separately. Everything's independent and independently usable. Same with the Focusrite Platinum. The DVX here, which actually is a hot vintage classic stereo compressor and limiter. Really hot on main mixes. Hard to get. You can find them on eBay for a good $400 or $500. So it's a steal. You should grab one if you see it. The 168 is still a good compressor. It dropped in the 80s. It's still very useful. The TC Electronics we'll use back at the lab is the Fireworks. It's a different unit. I'm not familiar with it. I don't use it. But Fireworks is a very hot sound design tool because it actually gives you the ability to morph one sound into another. So you might be able to take an open hi-hat and a closed hi-hat, morph them into the same sound, put them on your MPC, and adjust your velocity settings so your open hi-hat and your closed hi-hat are on the same pad, the same way it would be for a live drummer. So you get a more live feel unit that way. The Manley variable mute was spoke about earlier. It's just a hot machine. It's completely warm, fast sound. Aphex Compeller is another processor that does compression. The TC Electronics Finalizer. It's actually the Finalizer Express. Basically does the same thing. A lot of people prefer not to use a finalizer. What that does is essentially brings your stereo mix to a professional level where, you know what I'm saying, it's a mastering tool, but a lot of people prefer not to use one specific tool for mastering and trust an engineer's ears instead. So that's not something I mess with too much, but our main mix is running through that right now. Down here a little lower, we've got Benchmark digital to analog converters. These are very hot. Some people prefer the Apogee Rosettas, but these are very hot converters. Coming over here is the Manley Massive Passive, which is another dope EQ. Really, I mean, it's that or a Pultec when it comes down to hot EQs. There really isn't much hotter than you can get from that. The Pro Tools system, obviously, and some odds and ends. Coming over to the Elises, or the Lexicon rather, is where you get your hot reverbs. Really, Lexicons have been basically the best reverbs you can get. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, they're nice and fat in the trails. When they fade off, they don't break up. You know what I'm saying? It's a very smooth reverb trail. And if you listen really close to plugins, you'll notice the reverb trails and plugins tend to break up and become brittle and weak for the very end of the trail, which isn't to some people noticeable, but there's a trade-off when you have the convenience of having an entire studio in a box, as you see over here in the tape machine room with the computers. The DP4 is also something that we have in the other studio. It's a 4-channel parallel effects processor from Ensoniq. Very hot. Got all the same effects that you'll find in the ASR10. When I gave up the ASR10, which wasn't too dependable for us, I had to pick up the DP4. I love the Vanderpool and the rumble filter and the pure bottom filter. We even named it Kit after the pure bottom filter in the Ensoniq ASR10. So the DP4 is a must. If you're feeling them ASR10 effects, but you don't have access to the ASR10 and don't need the keyboard. And then over here you have the Alesis master disc and some CD burns. You know, the old Apex 2 preamp, which we don't use too much over here, but it's nice to have at your disposal when needed. So that's essentially the lab. We've got a real raw snare that I've chopped down to about this big. So probably what I'll start by doing is go into the mixing section and just add, for now, some stock MPC reverb. Eventually, I'll probably rock it through that Lexicon over there and get some of that fat, rich Lexicon verb. And I probably plan on stacking it with another snare that I've wet down. Right here, this is a benchmark digital to analog converter, and that's the front end for the Genelex, and then the NS10s are going directly through our Pro Control console. So this right here is the Manley variable mu, which essentially means variable gain. It's a limiter and compressor. The only difference between compressing and limiting is essentially the ratio of the compression. So any compressor can also limit as well if you push it. This unit is actually used a lot for mastering. That's why it's called the stereo variable mu. So a lot of people use it for stereo, but it's just as hot for mono purposes. And you know, it's got a nice, warm, big all-tube circuitry that really adds a lot of warmth and it has a very aggressive punch for drums. You know what I'm saying? At the other lab, we'll use also a drummer punch gate as well. So this is never the final step. You know what I'm saying? Once things are dropped into a beat, we'll see where it needs to go after that. So basically, here we have a kick that I did a little pre-fade on, and it's got a little rumble to it. Could use some tightening up. So again, I'll go over to the variable mu. Instead of using compress mode, I'm gonna use limit mode. Now with the same exact settings, you can hear the difference. These are fast recovery, low threshold, fast attack. And again, it's going through the entire all-tube circuitry. So it's taking a kick that could have sounded, you know, with critical listening, harsh to one ear, and it's again adding that element of warmth and just a big kick that kind of hugs your track. So a little too big. So what I'm gonna do is go over here to the massive passive. Right now what I'm going to do is just put together a track so I can hear the drums again in the track. I'm going to throw this a little hi-hat in there. Just a placekeeper for the rest of the samples. That way when I'm adding the drums I don't have to listen to a metronome. You know what I'm saying? So for now, I'll put the hat on 16 levels of velocity so I can change it up. Get some human feel between the open hi-hats that I'm going to add in a while as well. So just do it straight. So I'll tighten that up on the beat and then take and go into another track. and add the snare that we edited a few minutes ago. What I'm going to do is take the original pattern. I'm going to put a second snare, layer it over the every other snare over the other snare. What I'm going to do is take that and copy it 4 times rather than sitting through the whole 8 bars of the beat. And I'm going to essentially in offsetting, I'm going to go into the sequence screen and I'm going to go up into timing correct. And what I'm going to do is open the window. And you can actually shift the timing of any specific track earlier or later. The original swing I have on this is very low. It's 51%. Normally, I might, to get that bump, use up to 59, 60, 63. The swing is actually, it's like shuffle and flam if you were a drummer. If you were to take, just for example, I'll take that kick, for instance. Let's go to our kick track. Our main kick track. Let's solo that. Let's go into the sequence edit. So essentially now we're going to timing correct. And we have the individual kick there. We'll go into sequence edit. Open the window. Go into timing correct. Shift the swing to, just for the hell of it, something really high like 64. Shift the amount later to 0. Earlier to 0 as well. The entire time for kicks on main. We'll do it. And now watch. You know what I'm saying? It gives the entire track a different bump. Now the second kicks that I laid are not perfectly on time with those kicks, but if we were to just turn those off, that ain't gonna be. It's a different track. You know what I'm saying? So that's essentially what swing does. If you're not familiar with it, it's definitely something you should be fucking with because it can add a world of difference to your sound and giving you that live feel that's essential. You know what I'm saying? To have a human track that doesn't sound robotic. So again, what I'm doing is I'm going into that second snare I laid on top of the other snare. And it's right here, it's solo. And I'm going to take that track and I'm going to leave the swing where it's at and shift that later by 16%, roughly, anywhere in there. You know what I'm saying? And when we peep it, you're going to hear it come in a little bit later. I'm going to make it even a little bit later. 16, maybe 22. Check it out. So it gives your track some more human feel, and essentially keeps it moving, keeps it full, keeps the one original snare from getting monotonous. Essentially the way it goes.